deserve to feel strong, confident, ready for anything, and now you can with Humanity. Humanity is not for everyone, so ask your doctor if it's right for you. Humanity can cause heart disease, cancer, bronchitis, and stroke. Other side effects include Alzheimer's and dementia, arthritis, asthma, flu, diabetes, obesity, mental disorders, and MS. Humanity eventually results in death. Now, isn't it time you started living Humanity? Live free.
Illness is a natural part of life. There's no avoiding it. At age 23, I married Eric, a dynamic person, music teacher and friend who had survived stage 4 Hodgkin's as a child. Months after our wedding day, I became his caregiver as he fought a rare, life-threatening sarcoma that attacked the nerves in his right arm and shoulder. His arm became paralyzed, his pain and his treatments were excruciating, and after a 2-year battle, he died on a hospital bed in our apartment, barely 100 pounds. Shortly after that, I lost both of my grandmothers to liver cancer, just in their early 70s. And today, my husband Mike suffers with a chronic condition that requires constant monitoring and treatment. It sounds like it's been a hard road since my 20s, but I'm here to tell you, yes, it has. The first time I went to talk to a therapist, she broke out in uncontrollable sobbing. I ended up having to hand her the tissue box. Now don't worry, I found a new therapist. But I did learn something. Her reaction is pretty common. People with illness and their caregivers are often pretty isolated, even in the company of those who care. Our society has the most advanced healthcare technology in the world, and yet we're amateurs at what I would call illness intelligence, our ability to accept and respond naturally to illness in ourselves and in others. Now, I had a crash course in illness intelligence, but as a result, I developed empathy, perseverance, resourcefulness. All of these strengths I use every single day. So lately I've wondered if building our illness intelligence as a society could change the way we face all of our most complex problems. We could start by looking at people who are already pretty good at this. I remember 4 men coming to our rescue as we were struggling one day to board a flight. They moved like a special forces unit, and perhaps they were. And this was at Newark Airport, of all places. We can also learn from the opposite end of the spectrum, like a receptionist who refused to fax Eric's referral for a pre-surgical screening. Now, the surgery that was scheduled for the next day would amputate his right arm and shoulder to prevent the spread of cancer. She couldn't understand why we were so worked up. Turns out the surgery never happened. It was already too late. But why were we arguing over a fax on a day like that? I'll tell you, illness, ignorance. And I could go on this stage for an hour telling you stories like that, but don't worry, I only have 10 minutes. And I really want to focus on the people who did it right. Compassionate people can catalyze an entire community of illness intelligence. One day, one of Eric's friends and former students, Jeff, brought by a special gift that he and his friends had kind of been working on, a left-handed saxophone. Now, this saxophone would allow Eric to continue to play despite his paralysis. Jeff knew about Eric's backstory. When Eric had fought Hodgkin's as a child, learning the saxophone gave him the will to get up and go to school as often as possible. It led to his career choice. Just recently, I found this note in one of Eric's journals. It's a little hard to read. He had become left-handed late in life. But it says that the left-handed saxophone helped fill a void in his life, the need to play again. Jeff and his friends used empathy engineering, and creativity to good use. Group intelligence. Another story. A colleague of mine was struck with MS in the prime of her life. Her friends coordinated all her daily living essentials and provided her encouragement using Facebook. She believes that the work that they did could be a model for a nonprofit. Personal support teams like this can be a lifeline, but not everyone has them. Often it depends on where you are in life and who's in your circle. But at some point, everyone will need their own support team. It's part of life to suffer and eventually die. Boy, I'm full of happy thoughts. But I mentioned death because our fear of it creates barriers of communication, even among friends. I think this is why people panic and spout things like, God only gives you what he knows you can handle. Now, I know most people say that with good intentions. However, for the person who just wants to talk, it translates as, you can handle this. Now let's change the subject. And normally, that's what happens, and the person's left feeling even more alone. Social isolation, no matter what the circumstance, is crippling. There's a book called In the Country of Illness that likens sickness to exile. One of my favorite authors, Flannery O'Connor, who suffered with systemic lupus, once said, I've never been anywhere but sick. Her words resonate. Eric and I had a great team around us, but we still felt removed from their world, the one we used to inhabit, where you could make plans. Illness has a way of commandeering your time. Saturday nights at the ER were not exactly our idea of a date night, yet that's often where we were. I would dread Monday mornings when my colleagues would come up and say, so, how was your weekend? And usually I would respond, great, how was yours? Once as I was responding that way, a thick lock of Eric's hair fell out of my planner and onto a conference table. The chemo he had had the week before was so strong he had lost all of his hair in the span of one weekend, and we just couldn't keep up with it. My colleagues looked down while I cleaned up, and one woman started sobbing. Even when I tried to conceal our truth, it would find a way to reveal itself. Concealing your truth day after day is exhausting, but occasionally we'd find some rest. In the spring of 1998, Eric's relatives invited us to their horse ranch in Darby, Montana, a place we had never been. Our job was to cuddle all the newborn horses to lock in the human bond. Best job ever. And it was great to be in nature and to be useful. One afternoon, the owner, Larry Townsend, and I were talking while we were watching Eric with the horses. Larry said, hey, you know, enjoying the moment you're in is pretty easy when that's all you got. And he knows that's all he's got now. Larry had illness intelligence. We need more places like this that allow people to face illness and still feel connected to the world. And they don't need to be a faraway, exotic place. Picture a wellness center within a library where people could just sit, read, study, practice relaxation, or just be in the presence of others when they're feeling housebound. Or what if our community started a volunteer program specifically for people on disability, allowing them to use all of their gifts and talents they have in the present moment? And what if they could earn rewards for their volunteer service and still have their disability benefits? All of these ideas for building our illness intelligence as a society are within our reach. So what stops us? Well, the barriers aren't about money. They're emotional. The place to start is the most difficult of all, our relationships. What if today one of your friends called you and said, I found out I might have cancer? Now this sounds far-fetched, but it's not. It happens every day. Rather than saying what you think you need to say, Just speak honestly. I wish I could have the day I picked up my office phone and Eric said those words to me. But if I could go back and speak intelligently, I think I would have said, I won't lie, I'm afraid, and I hate this, and I know I'm being incredibly selfish right now. I want to be on this road with you, not to be your hero, but because I need you. I hope you understand that you're going to be the only person I want to talk to, and when I can't talk to you anymore, it'll drive me crazy. But I am in this with you, no matter where it takes us. And so, I leave you with this final image, the left-handed saxophone. What will you create? How will you make it? And who will you make it for?